But I want to kind of start with the upcoming game. As this goes out, it's Wednesday, which means it's on Saturday, 3:00. It's always a quite tense build-up over that week. You have a lot of Cardiff and Swansea fans working together. The banter will be flying, even though I hate that word banter, but it'll be going back and forth a lot. There'll be the hostilities don't just start on the Saturday. And we will discuss, obviously, the fact that it's at 3:00 on a Saturday for the first time in a very long time. But in terms of the game itself, how are you feeling about that?
Well, it's the fixture we love and hate in equal measure, isn't it? Not so much now, but obviously when I was younger, you'd be your stomach would be in knots when then. Well, I say when I was younger, it probably still happens now. And it's you dread it and look forward to it. So hopefully we'll be in the right winning camp this time.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because obviously, this year, neither club has really got anything to play with for so many years in recent memory, and younger fans perhaps have been blessed for both sides in that the last few years it's always been either battling relegation or going for promotion. So this last chunk of the season has always meant so much. But really now, both teams are safe. Neither team is going to get to the playoffs. So for the first time in a while, it's from a league point of view, if you like, it's a bit of a damp squid. But of course, Swansea won the first game earlier in the season and are looking to do the double for the first time ever. No, neither club has ever done the double. And I think that is important that Cardiff make sure that doesn't happen, because that's not a record that you want to be the team to lose, I don't think, is it?
No, I think that this fascination with who does the double, like nobody used to talk about that really.
It's
probably, yeah. Only I'd say probably the last 10 years or something. You read about it and you hear a little bit more. But like you said, nobody's really got nothing to play for. We're both safe, relatively safe anyway. Cardiff have, we've had a good run since Steve Morrison come in. And usually our seasons, like you say, is it's a bit of a roller coaster. But this year has been a bit of a lull. But we blended in some of the youngsters, and we got a bit of experience there on loan, and we've done all right. So
I criticised the club massively when they appointed Mick McCarthy, and even more so when they then gave him a long-term contract within a month of that short-term appointment. And I was concerned that they might go down the same route when I saw that Steve Morrison was only in there for the end of the season at first. But I have to say, what Steve Morrison did was not only clever, but showed a wealth of experience, perhaps beyond his years in a managerial point of view. Is his assistant manager is one of the most highly rated assistants and coaches in Wales. I talked to Derek Brazil in the interview I did with him about that. I forget his surname all the time. It's Tom someone.
I think they call him Ramas at the club.
Yeah. He's one of the most highly rated coaches in Wales and probably in the UK, I would imagine. But he also then, alongside him, he brought in Darren Pearce to do the 23s, knows the club incredibly well, knows what it's about, knows how important it is to the fans, to the city, but also has got a really good reputation for working with young footballers. And I think one of the important things for Cardiff was to build on what Craig Bellamy had put in place, because when Bellamy came into that academy system, he ripped it to shreds, started again. And you're seeing the benefits of that with first-team players now.
Yeah.
Alongside Darren Pearce, he brought in Mark Hudson for the coaching staff, who I'm hoping to speak to at the end of the season. And look, these are players who not only know the football club, know the city. They skip at the club. They are important players in the club's history as well.
Well, Darren Pearce and Mark Hudson, it was great. The club now are showing a little bit of continuity. The fans have been asking for it for a while, haven't they?
Yeah.
I know it's already bearing fruits which is great. There seems to be a lot more togetherness now with our support. During the McCarthy era, you know, it was getting pretty ugly. On the road.
I'll ask you a quick question about that, mate. The McCarthy era. Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
That is about as hostile in terms of fans turning against the football club that I can remember in probably 20 odd years, maybe even longer than that. The last time I really remember it being that hostile probably goes back to Ninian Park, if you take out the rebrand, because the rebrand was a bit weird in the like the atmosphere was strange because you had this kind of thing of some fans wanted it and some fans didn't, and it was a bit But I don't want to talk about the rebrand. Please don't make me start talking about that. But like I can't. I remember it got quite hostile when Kumar was in charge.
Tony Claremore towards the end. That was
Russell Slade it got quite negative during his reign, I suppose, because he was never good enough for that role. It was probably above his level, and no disrespect to him, because I think he's a very good League One, League Two manager. It's probably just a bit too much for him. But would you say that is about as negative as you can remember, for at least for a long time?
Yeah, I think I've commented on it in the past, probably tweeted, and about our support. People compared our home support to the away support, but it was creeping into our away support, and a lot of the songs, were just slagging off the players and celebrate. If we had a goal, they'd be singing "How shit must you be" and things like that. And it obviously would affect the players. And when was it Morrison's first game when we were 3-0 down at Stoke?
Yeah,
it was probably 800,000 Cardiff there, and that was turning quite volatile until the comeback, and we haven't looked back since. But I know there's some of the players were singled out. Some of the players weren't good enough to wear the shirt, but they,
bad attitude as well.
Their names now, but they're not. They haven't got anywhere near the first team in the last couple of months, which is great. But some of it was personal one, and
it just gets nasty, doesn't it? Because what you get is the players who get singled out for whether it's a bad attitude or not trying or whatever it may be. But it very quickly, particularly when people have had a few beers and all the things you add into it, they get carried away, and it can get quite personal quite quickly. And I think ultimately you don't want to be the type of fans who are criticizing your own players if you can avoid it.
Thankfully, things have changed now in the last.
Yeah, he's done a tremendous job, man.
And we've got in the loans like Tommy Doyle. I don't know who worked that one at the club, but the boy's a little bit special, isn't he?
Yeah, the day we signed him, I text Rodri and said, because he's up Manchester way, and I asked him about Tommy Doyle because I knew he's got a few Man City mates, and he sent me a voice note from a friend of his who's a Man City season ticket holder, and they said basically like he's a special boy, like he's going to be a really good footballer, and I think he's been almost the glue that's glued everything together. But I have to say, look, the academy players which have come through have been just as important as the loan players. At the start of January, mate, I said to anyone I talked to about, I said, I cannot see how Cardiff are going to stay up because we have no money. We've got a fairly new manager and we need 4 or 5 players. And we were only going one way and I couldn't see. And fair play to Steve Morrison. Not only did he get those players in, he got the right players in that we needed in terms of positions, but also players with the right attitude. And they'd clearly done their homework.
Like people like Isaac, Ruben, Joe Bagan.
I think
they get invaluable experience, right? Even though
mate.
they were thrown into the deep end, right? Initially.
Yeah, well, he got criticised, didn't he, for the way he treated Isaac Davis and I think it was someone else as well, because he substituted them after they were come on as subs. And then the next game, Isaac 2 games, Isaac Davis scored 3 goals in 2.
Well, I never understood that at the time, and we had conversations about this at the time. Isaac, he'd only played less than a handful of games, and he did well when he came on again at Huddersfield. And then we go to Bournemouth, and we get him beat by at the time the best side in the division, and we were down to 10 men, and he came on. Obviously didn't have the best at times when he came on, but I thought that was a bit of an absurd piece of management when he went public about it. But people are saying now, well, you have to be cruel to be kind, and look what it's done to Isaac. But Isaac was good enough before then. That was something that left a bad taste in the mouth.
Yeah, I think my only thing with it is Steve Morrison knows Isaac Davis, and he knows those academy players particularly well. He knows perhaps what works with them. And I think sometimes we all as football fans forget that the manager and the players will have individual relationships. And obviously he's worked with them in the academy before he's taken the first team job. So if anything, he's more familiar with the younger players than perhaps he is with some of the others. So maybe he's got that kind of, maybe Isaac Davis is a player, for instance, who needs to be told straight, you're not good enough today.
I think things have improved,
Yeah, they've been very good, mate. In terms of this game now, how do you think it'll play out? Do you think we might see a bit more of a slightly more free-flowing game because there's nothing really to play for?
Possibly. I think we've got a really good, strong home record, haven't we, recently?
Yes.
And hopefully we can keep that going. And I've seen the Swans once or twice. I think it was West Brom the other week. Excuse me. And they still solid when they were pretty decent on the counter attack that night. It's going to be another tight game. But like you say, if we get an early goal, it could be exactly what we need.
Yeah, Swansea been very up and down, mate. The West Brom game particularly was very good, but the game before that they played Sheffield United and got absolutely annihilated 4-0.
Yeah, and then they went to Peterborough recently, lost 2-1 today.
So
no, sorry, they were 2-1 down there, and then they come back.
And they came back to win 3-2, where they lost to Blackpool. They got
like you say, it's been ebbing and flowing on there. But we've been quite solid, haven't we? Recently?
Yeah, we've been consistent, mate. Is the main thing.
Defense is sound, and we've got Ryan Wintle in the CDM role, which he's a unsung hero. And what we were going on about just now, I think people like Cody, Drama, and Tommy, the way they've developed the last couple of months, it's going to have a knock-on effect when clubs looking to loan players out in the future, and then they come into Cardiff and they see where the development's going on there from their young players, and hopefully they'll give us quite a few favours in the future. Like.
Yeah, I think so. With those three you mentioned there, I hope we can sign one of them permanently and maybe get the other two on loan again next year. Because, look, with all due respect, as good as Tommy Doyle's been, he's not going to play first-team football for Man City next year. So, we can get him back.
The same with Cody at Leeds. Apparently, there's a rumour that Leeds are looking for a new fullback. But the problem is, the more they develop you, the price goes up. And they're in the market then, aren't they? Other clubs in the Premier League, bottom half down, probably will be looking at them and thinking they can do a job here. What's the kid at Everton? The youngster. I was watching him last week.
I'm terrible with names. I am.
Anthony, his name, isn't it? But he's been really good. I've noticed him, but he's very similar to Tommy Doyle. And obviously he's a step above Tommy at the moment, but you can see Tommy reaching that probably within a year or two.
Well, we could be playing Everton next year, mate. So
I don't know after they win last week.
Well, we never know. In terms of the Swansea players, just quickly, they got a pretty good spine. I'm a big fan of Ben Cabango when he's playing for Wales. I think he's a really good central defender, and I think he's probably the future replacement for the likes of Ben Davis to play alongside. Joe Rodon. But I like him. I think they got that boy who scored 17 goals up front. I forget his name, Joel something. I don't know. Pirro, yeah. I think he
scored against us down there, didn't he?
Yeah, he's a danger man, obviously. He's got I was looking at his stats the other day. His goal conversion rate from the chances he gets is quite poor, really, for a striker. I think it's like in the 20%, but he's got a high accuracy in terms of when he gets a chance, he hits the target. So I think he's, you've got to keep a lid on him and people like him and Jamie Patterson, and then you've got
Wintle will have him in his pocket.
I think so, mate. Very quickly then, score prediction, mate, from you.
Okay. 2-1
to Swansea. Yeah?
No, it's a home team.
Yeah, I think my heart says sort of 2 or 3-1 to Cardiff. My head says we'll probably get I think it's going to be a bit more open than normal. I do think that, just because both teams are comfortable. So I'm going to go 2-2, I think, if I was being honest.
I
know.